That is Africa for you. Then after they were done with slavery, they came up with the colonial project. They sat in Berlin, parceled our continent into 54 units, which we still kill and maim for in order to retain boundaries created by the colonizer in Berlin. Then today they refer to our continent pejoratively, I suspect.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time when it can rightly be said that the continent of Africa is at crossroads. Just this morning, I received a post from a good friend of mine from Liberia. And in that post, he says poignantly, why is it that Africans are so concerned about the conflict in the Gaza Strip and the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, with our media houses reporting it on a daily basis? Yet there is a conflict in Sudan, which has occasioned perhaps the worst humanitarian situation in the recent past. When there is a conflict in southern Cameroon, where children have not gone to school for many years, yet there is a conflict in the Democratic Republic of Congo, yet there is an ease in Somalia, yet there is an ease in the Amhara region in Ethiopia, yet there is an ease in Central African Republic, yet there is insurgency in northern Burkina, Mali, Chad, and an ease in Guinea. And I asked myself, what is the problem? And I answered by saying, it is because we do not write our story. It is because we are defined by others. And as long as we are defined by others, as Malcolm X said famously, unless the African in the continent is respected, no black man or woman will be respected outside of the continent of Africa. There is wisdom, therefore, as my good friend Dr. Shem said, for us to begin to ask the question, who are we? And what can we do to regain confidence and to regain our rightful place in the world? Nostalgically, we talk about Mansa Musa and how his pilgrimage to Mecca changed the world. We romanticize our past, but the reality is that our continent can do better because she did many years ago. I remember reading one of the most iconic speeches ever delivered by an African in the year 1906 at the University of Columbia by South Africa's Pixley Kaisaka Seme, the regeneration of Africa. That speech went into history, talked about the pioneering movers of Pan-Africanism, such as Sylvester Williams, such as Marcus Garvey, talked about many things and said that Africa must regenerate. He reminded his audience on that day that the African spirit remains unsettled. 12,000 ships took off from the western coast of Africa to the Caribbean. 12,000. 1.8 million lost in the seas. We do not know how many died when they arrived. 6 to 10 million taken to the Arab world, with 99% of the men castrated. That is Africa for you. Then after they were done with slavery, they came up with the colonial project. Sat in Berlin, parceled our continent into 54 units, which we still kill and maim for in order to retain boundaries created by the colonizer in Berlin. And today they refer to our continent pejoratively, I suspect, as Francophone, to mean we are speaking French, not Bambara. Anglophone, to mean we are speaking English, not Gikoyo, not Luo, not Kiganda. Lusophone, to mean we are speaking Portuguese, not Ovambo and Ovimbundu. Then they came and changed our names. Then at one time, they even said that God could not understand our languages. God could only speak in Latin. And that is what defines us, even as we speak today. So that when we talk about the African diaspora, even our gravitation is holding all factors constant to those who colonize us. If you are in Dakar, in Senegal, your true north is Paris. If you are in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Kinshasa, and you want to escape the pain in Kinshasa, is Brussels. If you are in Luanda, Angola, or Maputo, or Praia in Cabo Verde, your gravitation is Lisbon. If you are in Kenya, or Zambia, or Nigeria, or Ghana, if you don't gravitate towards London, it is Washington. Those of you who are students of science will well remember Pavlov's conditional reflex. It is alive and well. And the time, therefore, is to liberate ourselves from lamentation. We have lamented too long. We have agonized too long. The time is to give meaning to the statement made by Tanzania's Julius Nyerere on the 6th day of March 1997, when he was the guest of honor on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of Ghana's independence. And Mwalimu said, if Africa does not unite, there is no future for us. And we are not talking about the unity of the graveyard where we all agree. No, it is unity of purpose. Today, many African governments have ministries of foreign affairs with an appendage called the diaspora, even diaspora desk, but they see you as they see gold mines. It is your dollar that they are interested in. It is your pound that they are interested in. It is your euro that they are interested in. They do not see the human resource that you are. As I speak to you now, some of our best men and women are outside of the continent. Our best engineers are to be found outside of the continent. Our civil engineers are to be found outside of the continent. And it's the Chinese who are building our roads, a paradox and an irony at once. That is where we are. Today, our best doctors are to be found outside of the continent. So that when our leaders in Kenya, when they want to give birth, they go to the United States. When they have a flu, they go to the United States. When they are about to die, they go to Europe and America and India. That is why Vladimir Putin is said to have said, but I doubt whether he said it, but that notwithstanding, he said to have said that Africa is only a graveyard for her leaders. We can do better, because history has demonstrated that whenever we wanted to do better, we did. You know, many times when I think about our founding fathers and mothers, and I listen to some of them in their very unsophisticated way, some of them through music, Miriam Makeba, some of them through religion, Kim Pavita, Donna Beatrice of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Some of them through the political platform, Kwame Nkrumah, Ahmed Sekou Touré, Mwalimu Nyerere, Samora, Moises Machel. Without internet, without what you and me have today, they were able to organize. When Marcus Mosias Garvey was telling people to come back home, he had no internet, no Boeing, no Airbus. When Sylvester Williams was convening the first Pan-African meeting from Trinidad and Tobago, how did he communicate? But they did it. So what must we do? You know, 2 days ago, I was invited to the Africa-Korea meeting at the University of Nairobi on the 6th of August. And I looked at the statistics that Korea, which was smaller in her economy than Kenya in 1963, today has a GDP of 1.7 trillion with a population of 51 million. And the entire continent of Africa has a GDP of no more than 2.8 trillion. That Norway, with a population of less than 10 million, has a sovereign fund of 1.7 trillion, and Africa Exim Bank only has a small fund of 4 billion, and we shout about it. We should shut up. If you look at our men and women in the diaspora, give or take, the statistics are known to you. But if you look at persons of Africa or African descent, no less than 250 million, second only to Nigeria. And if you look at the income that they generate every year, the good Dr. Shemu Chodo has only given you the statistics which are the tip of the iceberg. The story requires that we pause and ask. 1 week ago, I wrote to the chairman of the African Union and told him in my letter that this is the year of reparations, the year 2025. We are in the month of August, 4 months to go. What is happening? Of course, I said, rather unkindly, that, sir, when we were elected, we thought you'd do better, but you have gone back to the factory setting. It is diplomatic nicety, sterile statements and speeches, jamborees, with the consequence that Africa is a forest of protocols and declarations which yield nothing. We are the only continent whose leaders are summoned. Africa-China conference in Beijing, and all our 54 leaders by private jet are in Beijing. Africa-Russia in Sochi, and they go. Africa, even little Qatar in Doha, and they go. Africa, Washington, and they go. And the President of the United States of America has the temerity to ask an African president how well he speaks English. The time is now for you to change. And it is people in the diaspora that have changed their societies. Look through history. The state of Israel was created by their diaspora. You have a duty. The time is now for us to reflect and ask ourselves, what will our generation do? My good friend Kennedy said, and he says in his book, that every generation must find something for which it shall be known. They came, they resisted, even if they failed. The Amazon women of Dahomey resisted. Queen Zinga resisted in Angola. Mekatilili wa Menza resisted. Shaka the Zulu resisted. There was the Hair Rebellion. There was the Maji Maji Rebellion. There was the Mau Mau Rebellion. They resisted. There came another crop, and they resisted, and we regained our independence. And we lost it through some leaders who changed for the worse. What is our generation going to do? What will we be remembered for? The Ethiopians in the diaspora have financed the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. It can be done. But we must not work in silos. We must work as one unit. The geographical entities that were bequeathed to us by the colonizers must not stand in the way of our unity. You know, in the year 2013, the then chair of the AUC in Nkosazana and Lamini Zuma wrote a letter to Kwame Nkrumah, apologizing to Kwame, to listen to him. Africa has long realized that we must do things for ourselves. When they sat in 1963 in Addis Ababa, they said we must do things for Africa. We must have intra-African trade. They repeated the same again in 1973 in Addis Ababa, repeated it again in 1908 in Lagos, repeated it again in Addis Ababa in the year 2013, We have Africa Agenda 2063 and Africa Continental Free Trade Area. They met in Kigali and said that we should move freely in the continent. They met in Yamoussoukro and said we shall open the air skies, but I suspect some of you were required to have visas before you came. Or if they did not call them visas, they gave them another Christian name. But you paid some money before you came here. How can it be? 33 currencies and counting. And when you go into an aircraft, they say they are expecting, they accept all major currencies. It never ends the naira. Not the CDO, no. Not the kwanza, not the shilling, not the kwacha, not the mafaranga. It is only the dollar and the euro, and even the cards. If it is not Visa, it is American. If it is not American, it's something else. We produce what we do not consume and consume what we just said, Ali Mazurui. So the time is now for us to do what we must. This is an intergenerational war which must be fought by us from different corners. You know, this morning I was listening perhaps for the umpteenth time to Martin Luther's sermon, A Knock at Midnight. And in that sermon, Luther King says many things, but he reminds us that unfortunately, as he was speaking then in 1960, still true today, we have now entered into a world of what he calls moral relativism. Everything is right. It depends. There are no anchors. No, not everything is right. The time is now, my brothers and sisters, for us to wake up. So when we leave here, let this not be another jamboree. When we leave here and we are reconvening wherever it will be, whether it's in Accra, Ghana, or Lagos in Nigeria, or Dakar in Senegal, or Maputo, or Cape Town in South Africa, let us ask ourselves sector by sector. There is a young girl whom I met recently. She's called Wakesh. That young girl told me that she'd sold the little she had in the United States of America and come back to the mother continent in what she calls return to Eden. That is a similitude of what in the Bible.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause. Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
Round of applause. Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause for Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause. Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizer.
Round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time when it can rightly be said that the continent of Africa is at crossroads. Just this morning,
a round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time when it can rightly be said that the continent of Africa is at crossroads.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time when it can rightly be said that the continent of Africa is at crossroads. Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting
A round of applause. A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together.
A round of applause for Prof.
Thank you very much, my good brother Wallace. Let me first thank the organizers of this conference for putting this together at a time when it can rightly be said that the